Hello, dear listeners. I am Anna Tider, and this is Thank You, Mama. And before we jump into this week's interview, I wanted to share with you a podcast I just discovered. It's called The Pumping Podcast, and its host, Jessica Lorian Martinez, interviews women about different aspects of motherhood, from combining motherhood with a career, struggling with infertility, staying fit, sleep, and as one episode title perfectly says, all the shit nobody tells you. Jessica is very charming and her guests are open and sweet. I got hooked. It will remind you that you are not alone and make you feel stronger and more inspired as a mother and as just you. So look it up. I will share a link in my episode notes. Hi and welcome to Thank You, Mama. My name is Anna Tider and my guest today is Soniya Hirachan. Hi, Soniya.
Hi, Anna.
Hi. Soniya is a psychiatrist and a life coach. Soniya, where are you talking from? Where are you right now?
So I am actually in Minnesota. I live in the suburbs of Minneapolis.
And you are originally from Nepal.
Yes, that's right. I am from Nepal. I've been in this country for a little over 12 years now and have lived in various parts of the country, but have been in Minnesota for the last 6 years.
Where are you from Nepal? From Kathmandu?
Yes, from the capital city, Kathmandu. And I love that you were able to pronounce it so well. I've heard a lot of different versions of Kathmandu. They're like Kathmandu or, some weird version. But yeah, yours sound really good.
Soniya, for those who are not very clear where Nepal is, can you place it? You did it so nicely for me.
Where Nepal is. Oh, okay. So Nepal is a small country that is sort of I think the loosely used term has been sandwich between two giant superpowers, India and China, and where we don't have access to sea or ocean, so we're a landlocked sort of a country.
It's not that small. It has 28 million people. I'm saying this because my original country, Croatia, has 4 million people, and my second home country, Austria, has 8 million people. So for us, 28 is like a big country.
I know. And you know what? The most populous place within Nepal is the capital city. Every year, there are thousands of people who migrate to the capital city for, better prospects and for economic reasons. But yeah, it is it's a sizable, I was going to say sizable size, but yeah, it is a decent size.
Decent size country. Mm-hmm. And in Nepal, you speak Nepalese.
Yes.
And you have different religions.
Yes, so there's lots of different religions. There's Hindus, there are Buddhists, there are Muslims, there are Christians, Jews. I think we have all the religions there. But more than the religions, what defines the country is the caste system, which I don't know if you're familiar about. The Nepali people are identified by their caste system. So generally there are 4 main castes, and within those 4, broader categories, there are several subcastes within those systems. So yeah, it's pretty diverse, even within those 4 systems. Like I said, lots of different languages, people, and even the way they look, it's pretty different. You will be able to see a lot of different colors, even within Nepal.
Soniya, I know the castes from India. How do they compare or differ? How does the system compare or differ to what we know about Indian castes?
Yeah, it's actually pretty comparable, I would say, because
Okay.
I'm not that familiar or I'm not exactly sure how their systems are, stratified. But then I'm guessing that within that, within those groups that I mentioned, there would be quote unquote upper caste or lower caste. So there is that hierarchy that has been established or had been established, I would say.
And I read about the Civil War, which I am very embarrassed that I didn't know about. It sounds like we were at war at similar times. I was in war in Croatia, early 90s, and there was a civil war in Nepal in 1990s all the way through early 2000s. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so you're right. I think it spanned between 96 and, middle part of 2000s. And thousands of people died. And really, it was, I think the state of the country had reached a point where there was such division between the rich and the poor that people who were living outside of the capital just were not being given the same opportunities or even the same kind of budget allocations as the major metropolitan cities. So there was a lot of conflict around that, and a political party gained sort of momentum around that time, and they waged a war. And
this was a communist party?
Yes, this was a communist party. And it's funny when we started talking about this the last time we met that I wasn't as, we knew that we were at war, but because I was living in such a sheltered area in the capital city, raised in sort of privilege, that I never really realized the gravity or the magnitude of that war in a general Nepalese life. So I have some guilt about that as well. But anyway, besides that, yes, it was, like thousands of people died. And how it sort of came to an end was that they were then annexed into the main government. So they became a sovereign sort of a political party, and they're still one of the leading political parties in Nepal right now.
It's fascinating to me how we already talked about this last time, how you can be sheltered from a war. And I've experienced this in Croatia because the killings and the war basically started, I would say, 2 years before it reached the capital. So the country was experiencing a very bloody war for 2 years. And we in capital were just completely sheltered from it. And it is a very strange feeling that you are there but aren't there.
Right.
And Zagreb was, I think, bombarded only twice. There were very few casualties. So generally, considering the war in Croatia, it came out quite untouched. But the rest of the country was really suffering, and many people died, and it was really a very bloody war. So it's a strange place to be in when you know it's happening around you and your people are dying, but you are in such a sheltered and protected space.
Yeah.
Soniya, let's talk about you and your work. So you went to a British boarding school in Nepal.
So I was fortunate enough to have gained admittance to this British school, which was also loosely called as the Royal School because our then kings, sons used to study there. And it was an amazing experience, obviously. I can't even remember if it's spent 10 years or 12 years there. But I was there, throughout high school.
And then you moved to India for your medical school.
Yes. So I then moved to India, South India, this place called Manipal, which was a college town, and moved there for my medical school training and was there for nearly 4.5, 5 years. And then moved to the US for my residency. So I've kind of been hopping around here and there.
That's amazing. So you went to New York City from India.
Yes, I did.
How was that? Was that a shock? How did you get used to a life in New York City?
You know, so a lot of people have asked me if you felt like it was such a different place, or did you have culture shock? And frankly, I didn't. Maybe because,
that's interesting.
yeah, maybe because I had grown up, like watching a lot of, Hollywood movies, or most of my friends from high school actually were already here in the US. So I already was sort of familiar with, how things go, and with me being able to speak English. Because of studying in a British boarding school, I don't know that it was such a huge leap. And even when I was in medical school in India, the college town was pretty, yes, the people were conservative, but we were all sort of living very like a typical college student life. Or at least that's what I would imagine college life would be here. Go out to party, so it was pretty, so I don't think I experienced it as being drastically different. And even in New York City, I was living in Jackson Heights with my uncle, and that place is so diverse. In fact, you don't see a lot of white people there. So it didn't feel like I had come to a totally different country. So I don't know, maybe that was my way of adapting to the city.
Soniya, and then you started working in a hospital, and you've built quite a career there. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I came here for, to pursue residency. And so I interviewed in a variety of different places, and I really felt like I clicked with this program in Washington, D.C. in the psychiatry residency program. And so I did my 4 years of psychiatry residency there. Love D.C., loved the program, loved the people there. And then went to Pittsburgh to do my forensic psychiatry fellowship training, which is a 1-year program. And then landed in Minnesota because I really clicked with this place, the hospital where I'm currently working at, and things have been smooth sailing since then.
And you've became a director in the meantime.
Yes. So I feel like I've been fortunate. And again, my rational brain is like,
do not be ashamed of your success. Do not apologize for your success.
That, and then I'm like, stop saying you've been fortunate, because guess what, girl? You've put in a lot of hard work.
I know.
I should own it. So yes, I did work my ass off. And, people around you start noticing if you're dedicated and you ask the right kind of questions, and you are, you're passionate about the work. So that's how I was swiftly promoted to a director role. And so I have been in this position for the last 4 years, and I'm absolutely enjoying it. But I also feel like I have so much more to do. And that's why I'm like always, looking for things to do and to elevate myself and my mindset. So it's been absolutely amazing the last several years, I should say.
So right now you're a medical director in your hospital. You are also working as a life coach.
Yes.
You have a child. You're also a mama and a wife. And I forgot, do you see patients as a psychiatrist right now, or is that...
I do.
Yes, as well. Oh my God. How many hours does your day have minus 24?
We have the same number of hours, Anna. It's just about prioritizing. That's all I will say. It's very hard. Actually, when you called today, I was telling you I was having a hard day. I'm on call, and then my toddler had a meltdown this morning, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this.
Oh. Thank you for not canceling on our interview.
Please. No. I mean, it's just, there are days. We all have those days, but we just, stand up and we dust ourselves, and then we go about again.
I love it. We do.
Yeah.
Sonia, let's talk about Mama Asha. Will you tell me a little bit about her life before we dive into her lessons?
Yeah, so my mom was the first of two siblings, and she was born and raised in Marfa, which is a small village in the what we call the Himalayan region of Nepal. If you were to look at the map of Nepal, it's kind of loosely, I would say, it's sort of like a odd-shaped rectangle, and you could slice that rectangle three ways, like horizontally. So the upper half, this was my geography lesson, okay?
I love it.
The most, the upper part of the rectangle is, has all the, world's, I can't even remember how many highest peaks we have.
Yeah.
So that's the Himalayan region, and that's where my mom was born. And she worked, because the village was not so well developed in terms of economy. My grandparents were farmers. I mean, my grandfather has even to this day, he has an apple orchard, and he would, take all sorts of goods and vegetables from there. And he would walk, like literally walk, because the roads were not connected to the bigger cities. So him and my mom, they would walk for she tells me stories how we would walk for 7 days, 10 days, and actually, and then go to the city to sell what they had, and also set up sort of tent. My mom would help my grandfather cook food, and I mean that's how they used to earn a living.
Wow! Wait, so they basically carried the vegetables and fruit to sell for 7 or 8 days, walking on their feet to go to the market and sell. Wow. That is hard life.
So you can imagine the kind of life that she was, she came from. Yeah. So they would then, her summers, she remembers, I mean, all her summers were spent like that, just walking and then selling things there. And then, obviously bringing things back with them as they would sort of hibernate for the winter, because winters were rough. They're still rough right now with the snow and everything there.
And you told me she did not go to school. Her sister was allowed to go to school and she didn't.
Yeah. So a funny story. She says that, my grandfather says that she didn't want to go to school. And, but my mom's like, well, he never, encouraged me because, she was the older one and she was supposed to sort of take care of finances, whatever it was. But yeah, she went, so she studied until the 7th grade, she says. But it's so interesting that despite her formal limited education, she's really good at math. Like numbers, oh my God, she is brilliant. She can tell you, what I won't even be able to give you an example, but she's she's really street smart is what I would say.
And when did she get married? She had 5 kids. Did she? You have 4 siblings.
No, my mom and her sister married my dad and his brother. So for my mom, she only has 1 sibling, and my dad only had 1 sibling, and the 2 siblings got married to each other.
Oh, your mom married your dad, and her sister married your dad's brother.
Yep.
Okay. Now I understand. So you have cousins.
So I have 4 cousins.
Okay.
And then 1 biological brother.
Did she marry young?
I think she got married when she was 23, 24. So, I mean, yeah, youngish, I would say, considering I got married when I was 32. But yeah, so she moved to Pokhara, actually, which is another bigger town. And which is, closer to Marfa, the village that they actually migrated from. So they settled down in Pokhara for a number of years, and they established businesses. And then my dad had to go to the capital for his work and for his business. So that's when we moved as well. And then I went to boarding school there, and
she came from quite a poor background. How did she put you into a royal boarding school?
because of the fact that it was royal, it was also British. So the school fees were quite nominal, actually. When you compare that with the rest of the boarding schools in Nepal, the school fees were very, very, they were minimal.
Do you have any more stories that you'd like to tell about Mama Asha, or should we move into her lessons?
Yeah, we can move into her lessons.
Tell me. What did Mama Asha teach you? By the way, I love that name.
Yeah, Asha means hope in Nepal.
Oh, beautiful.
In Nepali. I actually never even thought about it until I became an adult, which is so interesting because I've said her name is this like a million times before that, but never really registered to me that it meant hope. And it's fascinating how then you start thinking, she does signify hope in a lot of ways. Like I said, she came from such a poor background. She talks about how days when there were so many difficulties just to, get food on the table. And then with hard work and persistence and perseverance, she was able to give us a good life. Yeah, I owe that to her.
What did they end up doing for work?
After they got married, the four of them bought this piece of land where they actually built a restaurant. It was more popular as a restaurant because my mom and her sister, they're really good cooks. Actually, the ethnicity that I come from, we're called Thakalis, and Thakali food is very, very famous in Nepal. And right now, actually, just I would say in the last decade or so, people have really, gravitated towards that palate. It's different from your regular Nepali food, and there's lots of varieties. And so, yeah, that's how they started their businesses. They started this restaurant, and then they also built a hotel. I still remember, like the first floor was the restaurant, big restaurant, and then the second and third floors were like we had guest rooms there, and then we lived like on the top floor. Yeah, so meanwhile, my mom and her sister were building this restaurant and the hotel business. My dad and his brother were building their own construction business. So, and that, they became successful as well, being able to snag a lot of deals and lots of contracts. So, yeah, they really worked hard and were able to give me the kind of life that we had.
Amazing. From nothing.
Yeah.
That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lesson in there already, but let's officially start the lessons.
Yeah. So I think as I was thinking about it, I think the biggest lesson was of resilience, how despite enduring so much, you can come out of it literally unscathed. I shouldn't say unscathed in like the truest form because she's had lots of trauma and, as you can imagine, having to have that huge financial burden on her shoulders at such a young age, but just the power of human resilience and how despite everything, she's always like, yeah, it'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Asha.
Hope, yes.
Hope, yes.
Yeah.
I love it how nomen is omen, how the name can sometimes really influence who you become or who you are.
Right, yeah.
You also mentioned being humble.
That's one of the things that I think I learned from her very early on, not to be too excited if you have won something or, and I was one of those children who would always be like, oh, look what I got, I was first in class or like I won this. And I sought that external validation. And I remember her saying, don't depend so much on people telling you that you're doing a good job. It has to be internal. I think that's one big lesson that I learned from her.
Is this why we had such a difficult time talking about your achievements earlier on? Is this Mama Asha's fault? I had to drag it out of you.
That's a very Asian thing to do, though. I think it's just even my dad's like that. It's like, yeah, why you don't want to gloat on,
But then you spend many years in America and you learn how to do that.
Exactly. Yes, I am being better at it, I suppose.
Sonia, we had one more lesson, which was on finances and independence.
Yes, yes. So that's another big lesson I would say that I've learned, is not to be in that position where you're depending on someone for your future. One of the things that she would always say is you better study well, because this is your only ticket out. If you study hard and you are able to get into a good career, a good profession, you won't need to rely on anyone else to provide for you. And I thought that was, I still think that's very neat of her to put that in our brains from such an early age, because I credit the way that I think and the way I am to her, because I have always been sort of independent. And especially being a woman, that's been one of the important things for me.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any other lessons?
Probably not. I think those are the two big ones that I can think about.
Well, I have three, because I want to take the humbleness as a separate lesson.
Sure.
Do we have anything that she was not able to teach you? Anything that you find is an important lesson that you had to learn yourself?
Yeah. I think as, humble as she was, and as much as she encouraged me to be financially independent, but I think there was this fear in her that what if her daughter goes too far? And I'm not speaking just geographically too far, but she always said, you need to have dreams, but they should be within the confines of society.
Stay grounded.
Yes, stay grounded, and it should, don't make waves. You don't want to stand out, that kind of a thing. And I think that's one of the things that I wish, I shouldn't even say I wish, but, obviously I learned that just because you think differently doesn't mean that you're wrong or anything's wrong with you. So I think that is probably one thing that I would say was maybe missing, is that, you can learn to fly. You'll have your mistakes, and you'll learn them, but that's life. And it's okay. She would say it's okay for everything else, but like I said, she had those societal norms in her brain.
Sonia, is that also Asian?
Yes, it's a very Asian way of thinking. And actually, I was very validated when I came here and started talking to other women. And yeah, it was very validating for me that it wasn't just her. It's a lot of Asian women and Asian families.
Sonia, thank you so much for this. So I just want to quickly recap the lessons on resilience and hard work, and that you can come out of all these troubles and harshness unscaled, basically. Then I wrote down humbleness, which I find very, very important in life, not to depend on other people telling you you've done a good job, but that this has to come from inside of you. Then I have financial independence. And finally, I have the thing that she did not teach you, which is it's okay to stand out. And I love it how you said you can learn how to fly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think you captured that really well, Anna. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about her. She doesn't really understand a lot of English, but I'm sure she's going to be thrilled that I have been, talking about her. I'm sure she's going to ask either me or one of my sisters to translate. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for being my guest and talking about her. Yeah. It's I've learned a lot through you and her.
Thank you. And I too.
Sonia, we also said that in case anybody was interested in your coaching services, they should contact me.
Yes.
And I will be very happy to put them in touch with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anna.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyouMama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.